No one built this city. And yet, here it hung, silent, impossible, calling across the void. Above the dead planet, the exploration vessel Odyssey drifted like a dark shadow against the rust-colored clouds below. Jagged plains stretched endlessly, barren and unwelcoming, yet orbiting it were structures both geometric and organic, massive forms that resembled coral frozen mid-growth. They hovered above the surface with deliberate grace, defying gravity and expectation. Inside the ship, the crew's nerves tightened. Captain Elara Voss stood rigid at the observation deck, eyes scanning the massive alien forms, a practiced calm masking her apprehension. "Sensors are unreliable this close," she said, voice taut. "We need to be cautious. We don't know what we're dealing with." But Dr. Kale Rin, the ship's linguist, couldn't look away. His gaze traced the alien city's towering spires, their surfaces shimmering with faint, almost imperceptible pulses. "This isn't abandoned," he whispered, voice trembling with awe. "It's waiting. Someone, or something, is here. They're aware we're here." The other crew members exchanged uneasy glances. Engineer Tova Reed tapped the console, watching readouts flicker and die. "Every scan we run fails. It's like the city is actively resisting us," she said. Her words only deepened the unease, echoing in the silent observation room. Security Officer Jaren Voss leaned back, arms crossed, his jaw tight. "Resisting or not, we can't just drift up and hope it's friendly," he muttered. "We need a plan. Landing, remote scans, something safe." Elara nodded slowly, tension in every line of her face. Yet, even as she spoke of caution, a strange pull tugged at her thoughts, a quiet compulsion she couldn't explain. The city seemed to whisper through the vacuum of space, through the metal hull, straight into her mind. Kale's hands hovered over his tablet, running patterns of theoretical neural scans. "The energy reading isn't natural," he said, almost to himself. "It's coherent, structured. Patterns we recognize. Not signals in any language, but thought. This is a mind reaching out across the void. And it's calling to us." Outside the viewport, the alien city shimmered again. Light bent along edges that should not bend. Shadows stretched and contracted as if the city itself were breathing. Instruments continued to fail, readings jumping from infinite to zero in seconds. It wasn't just resisting scans, it seemed alive. Watching. Choosing. The crew debated quickly, urgently. Should they land on the platform below, risking the unknown? Or attempt remote analysis, limited but safer? Each second stretched with silent tension, the kind that presses against your chest, heavy and suffocating. A city that should not exist. A silence that should not be. And a signal, calling only to the minds that dare to listen, Kale murmured. And in that moment, the Odyssey hung suspended above the dead planet, waiting for a decision, while something deep in the city pulsed in answer, aware of the human's presence, measuring, deciding whether they would be guests, threats, or something else entirely. The Odyssey broke through the thin veil of rust-colored clouds with a low rumble, engines adjusting to the unnatural stillness around the alien city. The docking platform appeared beneath them, an immense hexagonal slab of dark metal suspended miles above the planet's dead surface. No supports. No visible anchors. It simply floated, defying gravity with casual indifference. Captain Elara Voss guided the ship down manually, hands steady even as the controls shivered with interference. Their automated landing systems were useless, the platform scrambled them the moment they came into range. The ship touched down with a slow, reverent hush, as though even the vessel understood it was trespassing on something ancient. The ramp lowered. Not a single sound greeted them. Elara stepped out first, boots landing on the platform's smooth metallic surface. It was cold, far colder than the temperature readings predicted. The metal was dark and sleek, like obsidian polished endlessly, but as she shifted her weight, she caught a subtle ripple beneath her feet. The ground moved. Just barely. Like something breathing beneath a thin sheet. Kale Rin descended next, his eyes wide, drinking in every impossible detail. This surface, it's not solid, not fully. It's reacting to us. It better not react too much, Elara Voss muttered, checking the charge level on his sidearm. Last thing we need is the floor swallowing us. Engineer Tova Reed knelt beside the ramp, tapping a small probe against the platform. The probe's lights flickered in confusion, readings jumping and collapsing. It's absorbing data. Actively. Like it's reading us while refusing to be read. A shiver crawled down Elara's spine, but she nodded. We stick together. Helmets on, suits sealed. Oxygen is breathable but not guaranteed stable. The four of them crossed the platform toward a towering archway leading into the city. The walls on either side rose like enormous metallic petals curling inward. Their surfaces glistened with soft, fluid motion, and patterns resembling ancient glyphs drifted across them, symbols that formed and dissolved like dreams slipping away upon waking. And then the silence hit fully. It wasn't mere absence of sound. It was oppressive. A weight on their chests. A pressure inside their skulls, as though the city inhaled their thoughts, tasting them. Kale slowed his pace. Do you feel that? Like something heard us arrive. Elara didn't want to confirm it, but she felt it too, an awareness brushing against the surface of her mind. The interior corridor widened as they walked. Occasional flashes of light flickered in the distance, but never revealed a source. The illumination felt organic, pulsing veins of faint blue light tracing through the walls, flowing like blood. Gravity shifted the further they went. Light at first, just a soft tug on their stomachs. Then a sudden heaviness that made Tova grunt and brace herself against the wall. It's varying in waves, she said, pulling out her scanner. Like the city's heart is beating under us. Elara scowled. This place is alive. I'm telling you. Alive doesn't mean hostile, Kale countered, though even his voice wavered with uncertainty. As they continued deeper, their thoughts began to echo faintly, as though spoken inside a vast cavern that existed only in their minds. Elara froze the moment she heard something that wasn't her own thought. A soft whisper. A tone. Almost a voice. She turned sharply. Did you hear that? Kale exhaled shakily. Yes. Tova swallowed hard. It sounded like, us. Our thoughts, but separated. Like someone repeating them. Stay focused, Elara said, trying to reclaim control. Whatever this city is, it's interacting with our minds. Don't let it destabilize you. After several minutes, the corridor opened into a massive chamber that stole the breath from their lungs. A cathedral-like space extended in all directions, ceiling rising so high it disappeared into darkness. The floor, a broad, translucent pane, hovered over a bottomless abyss. Beneath the surface, faint lights drifted like distant stars. And in the center stood the monolith. A crystalline structure about 10 meters tall, faceted like a diamond yet constantly shifting, reconfiguring its shape in slow, deliberate motions. It emitted no sound, yet its presence vibrated directly in their bones, in their thoughts. Kale approached first, transfixed. This is extraordinary. It's resonating with cognitive frequencies. I think this is their collective neural hub. The Aenorans stored their consciousness here. Elara circled the monolith cautiously. We don't know that. It could be a power source. A trap. A sentinel. No, Kale murmured. It feels like a mind. 1,000 minds. Sleeping. Tova reached out impulsively, fingers brushing against one of the crystalline edges. A shockwave of light erupted across the chamber. Tova gasped, choking on air, eyes rolling back as she collapsed to the ground. Tova. Elara lunged forward, lifting her upright. But Tova wasn't unconscious. She was dreaming. Her eyes darted beneath closed lids, breath trembling, hands twitching as if she were touching invisible objects. Kale knelt beside her, shaking her shoulders. Tova, hey. Tova. Wake up. Her body jolted. Her eyes snapped open. She inhaled sharply, almost screaming. Elara steadied her as she tried to sit up, trembling violently. Tova, what happened? Elara demanded. The engineer's voice shook. I saw them, all around me. Moving through the city. Thousands of them. The city was alive, glowing, humming, beautiful. They weren't bodies, they were, light. Ribbons of thought. Kale's face lit with a mixture of fear and awe. They're communicating through dreams. The city isn't dead at all. It's asleep. Tova clutched her chest, tears streaming down her face. It wasn't just a vision. They saw me. They knew me. Elara's stomach tightened. The city had awakened just enough to touch their minds. And it was only the beginning. The chamber felt different after Tova's collapse, charged, expectant, as if the monolith had awakened just enough to acknowledge them. Kale Rin could hardly breathe as he examined the crystalline structure. Every shift of its facets seemed purposeful, every pulse of soft inner light like the flutter of neurons firing. It's responding to consciousness, Kale whispered, tracing its surface without touching. Not touch. Not sound. Thought. This whole structure is a neural interface. Elara kept her distance, arms folded tight. Or it's a weapon we don't understand. But Kale shook his head. No. It's curious. It reached into Tova's mind. Gently. Almost like an introduction. Jaren scoffed. That gentle introduction nearly stopped her heart. Yet when Tova finally regained her strength, her voice trembled not from fear, but from awe. I wasn't alone, she murmured. They were everywhere. They didn't speak in words. They moved through each other like strands of light, and when they wanted me to understand something, I felt it, an emotion, a memory, a shape. Kale's eyes gleamed with hunger. Pure abstract communication. They bypass language entirely. Elara silenced him with a glare. We're not here to evolve communication theory, we're here to stay alive. But that night, if it could be called night in a place with no sun, the crew slept aboard the Odyssey anchored to the floating platform. And the dreams began. The first dream came to Kale. He opened his eyes, except he was not awake, and saw the city alive around him. Towers gleamed like liquid crystal, shifting positions with the grace of creatures stretching after a long slumber. Bridges of light connected structures that pulsed with inner radiance. Something moved toward him. A ribbon. A serpent. A being made of flowing strands of luminescent fibers, weaving through the air like a dancer in water. The Aenoran. No eyes. No face. No recognizable anatomy. Yet Kale felt it, its curiosity, its patience, its vast age. A gentle pressure entered his thoughts, sorting through memories, impressions, emotions. He expected fear. What he felt instead was invitation. Elara dreamed too. But her dream was not gentle. She stood in the central chamber. Alone. The monolith towered over her, pulsing with cold white light. Shapes flickered at the edges of her vision, tall, sinuous beings watching silently. Their emotions flooded her mind, impossible to decipher, layered like chords she had never learned to hear. She tried to speak. Tried to ask what they wanted. A wave of emotion hit her, too sharp, too heavy. Not anger. Not welcome. Assessment. Measuring her worth. Her strength. Her fear. She jolted awake, drenched in sweat, chest heaving. The Aenorans were not simply curious. They were judging them. For Tova, the dream was intoxicating. She found herself drifting weightless through the floating structures, weaving between the radiant beings. Her engineering mind soaked in the visions, cities built from thought, machines powered by memories, entire civilizations encoded within crystal. Yet woven through the beauty was something else, whispers of loss. Of collapse. Of a dying sun and a desperate plan, to preserve themselves within their cities, suspended in eternal dreaming. Tova woke sobbing without knowing why. Jaren's dream was the worst. He found himself running through narrow corridors that twisted like intestines. The floating city groaned above him as if waking from agony. He felt eyes, if they were eyes, tracking him. A deep sorrow pressed against his chest like a weight. But the sorrow wasn't his. And something inside the city magnified his fear, feeding it back into him. Mutating it. He woke screaming, convinced something had followed him back into the waking world. For several minutes, he refused to sleep again. The next cycle, Kale didn't wait for sleep. He sat cross-legged before the monolith, palms open, breathing slowly. His heartbeat echoed faintly in the chamber. Lights rippled along the monolith's surface, responding to him. Elara will kill you for this, Tova whispered from behind him. Let her try, Kale murmured. I need to understand them. But what he didn't say, what he didn't want to admit, was that he already felt the Aenorans inside him. Their presence was comforting. Familiar. As if they had known him long before he arrived. As if they were guiding him toward something. Something vast. Something transformative. Elara eventually found him and yanked him away from the monolith. You're getting too close, she snapped. Kale didn't argue. He only whispered, we're on the edge of a discovery that will redefine humanity. Or destroy it, Elara countered. But even she couldn't deny the pull of the place. The city was a siren. A mind. A dream made of alien memory. And it wanted something from them. By the third sleep cycle, the dreams changed. They were no longer mere visions. They were shared. Elara found herself in the same luminous chamber as Tova. Kale saw Jaren's fear like smoke curling through the air. Tova felt Kale's fascination swirl around her like warm wind. These were not metaphors, they were literal sensations in the dream space, emotions given shape and color. Yet the Aenorans were no longer simply showing them their past. They were peeling back the layers of the humans' minds. Exposing desires. Regrets. Fears. And then twisting them. Jaren's fear grew claws, chasing him through corridors that dissolved behind him. Tova's curiosity expanded into obsession, visions of alien machines she desperately needed to build, even if it meant surrendering her identity. Elara's responsibility morphed into crushing isolation, every decision she made ended with her crew's death. Kale was the only one who embraced it. The Aenorans encircled him like spirals of light, feeding him glimpses of cosmic structures, equations that bent physics, and histories older than the Milky Way. He surrendered fully, letting their thoughts merge with his. When he woke, he felt hollowed and filled at once. He felt chosen. The waking hours became unstable. Jaren kept seeing flickers in the corners of his eyes, shadows matching the shape of the beings he feared. Tova stared at her tools as if expecting them to move. Elara felt whispers brushing the back of her mind when the rooms were silent. And Kale. Kale began speaking in half-formed abstractions that weren't human speech. Reality blurred. The boundaries between dream and waking dissolved. The city was no longer waiting for them to sleep. It had already entered their minds. And now, it was shaping them from the inside. The dreams deepen. At first, they arrive in fragments, flashes of color, broken silhouettes, drifting impressions, but soon the visions sharpen into undeniable memories not their own. Every time the crew closes their eyes, the city takes them further inside its sleeping mind. Kale is the first to feel the shift. He sleeps only minutes before the dream sees him fully, pulling him into a world bathed in blue radiance. Towering structures hover above vast plains of glass. Aenorans, luminous beings shaped like flowing ribbons of light, glide effortlessly through the air, their movements graceful as tides. They speak without sound, weaving intentions and emotions directly into his thoughts. We were many. We were one. We are sleeping, because the stars themselves forgot their warmth. Kale jolts awake in the chamber beside the monolith, breath trembling. The visions feel too vivid, too complete. These aren't dreams, these are memories. He rushes to the others. Elara listens intently, arms crossed, gaze hard but unsettled. You're saying this city is alive, and dreaming? No, Kale replies, voice hoarse. It's hibernating. Waiting for someone who can survive the mind link. Tova circles the monolith, examining faint pulses inside the crystalline lattice. Her hands shake slightly, the after-effects of her earlier vision. If it can store consciousness, that means the Aenorans didn't die. They uploaded themselves. Jaren stiffens. Or trapped themselves. Silence fills the chamber, thick and heavy. Somewhere deep in the structure, a soft ripple passes, like the city reacting to their fear. The next dream strikes all four of them simultaneously. They are not in their bodies. They are drifting, weightless, luminous, watching a civilization unfold beneath them. Millions of Aenorans move in synchronized grace through floating cities. Energy flows like veins between buildings. Knowledge itself travels through beams of light, shared instantly among minds. Then the vision shifts. A star. A dying one. The cosmic catastrophe arrives not as a bang, but as a slow, collapsing implosion of reality, space folding inward. The Aenorans gather, weaving a solution, to seal themselves inside their cities, transforming their architecture into a neural vault that can protect consciousness until the galaxy stabilizes again. They choose hibernation, not extinction. We sleep, so knowledge survives. Elara wakes gasping. Sweat beads on her forehead. The others stir around her, shaken, pale, trembling. What we're seeing, Kale whispers, is the last memory they shared before going under. Jaren rubs his temples. Why us? Why show us this? The monolith pulses once, faintly. A response. Kale answers without hesitation. Because they're testing us. They want to know if our minds are strong enough to handle the connection. Elara stiffens. And if we aren't? Kale hesitates. Then the mind merges. Permanently. Kale answers without hesitation. Because they're testing us. They want to know if our minds are strong enough to handle the connection. Elara stiffens. And if we aren't? Kale hesitates. Then the mind merges. Permanently. Day blends into night, or whatever the alien equivalent is. The city has no cycle, no sun, no time. Only dreams. Kale spends more time sitting before the monolith, breathing slowly, deliberately syncing himself with the hum of its crystalline core. His eyes linger too long, pupils dilated, as though he's listening to voices no one else can hear. Kale, Elara warns, you need to take breaks. I'm close, he whispers, not turning. The Aenorans want to talk. They just need me to listen. Or you're giving them a doorway into your... A sudden flash. Kale jerks. He turns toward her, but his expression is wrong, soft, unfocused, somewhere between awareness and dreaming. Elara, he murmurs, have you ever wondered what it would feel like, to think in more than one direction? Her stomach knots. He's slipping. Tova, meanwhile, experiences something different. When she rests, she no longer dreams as herself. She glides as an Aenoran would, her body a shimmering arc of light drifting over platforms suspended miles in the air. She feels wind without air, movement without limbs. She understands their architecture instinctively, every wall a conscious presence, every vibration a whisper of shared thought. Each time she wakes, she touches her arms as if expecting them to glow. Is it changing you? Jaren asks quietly, watching her with growing unease. I don't know. Tova's voice shakes. But part of me didn't want to wake up. Jaren's own experience is darker. The city preys on his fear. Every hallway seems narrower around him, every echo louder, every shadow shifting when he isn't looking. The dreams that come to him are corrupted versions of the other's visions, Aenorans staring with hollow light, reaching for him, pulling him deeper. He stops sleeping altogether, but the hallucinations creep into his waking hours. Elara, he whispers one moment, gripping her arm too tightly, I don't know what's real anymore. She forces him to breathe slowly, grounding him. But even as she does, she feels the city's pressure on her own thoughts, the subtle tug to surrender, to trust, to merge. The next shared vision is stronger than any before. They stand inside a colossal hall of light, Aenorans swirling around them like celestial currents. This time, the beings approach, slowly, intentionally. A single phrase floods their minds, layered with sorrow and urgency. Prepare your minds. Or be consumed. The crew stumbles backward. Not from malice, there is none, but from the sheer overwhelming presence of the message. It resonates like gravity itself, pressing into their skulls. Elara grips her head. They're not trying to hurt us, they're warning us. Kale's face lights with wonder. They're giving us a choice. Continue, or turn back. Tova whispers, what happens if we continue? The answer strikes them in a unified whisper. To know us, you must become us. The vision collapses. They snap awake on the cold floor of the cathedral chamber, hearts pounding, lungs burning. Elara staggers to her feet. Everyone stays awake. No more dreams until we figure out what this thing wants. But even as she speaks, the monolith pulses again, deeper, brighter, like a heartbeat sinking into sync with their own. Kale smiles faintly, eerily. In dreams, he murmurs, voice trembling with awe, they spoke the truth. He looks up at the glowing crystal. But truth could kill. It begins as a low tremor resonating through the translucent floor of the central chamber, soft at first, then building into a deep, rhythmic vibration that feels suspiciously like a heartbeat. Elara's eyes widen. Tova steps back. Jaren reaches for his sidearm. Kale, however, moves closer, completely entranced. Then the entire city exhales. The walls ripple like water. Pathways shift. Towers rearrange themselves with impossible fluidity. What had once been static alien architecture becomes undeniably alive, responding, adapting, awakening. Elara, Tova whispers, it's moving. The cathedral floor splits into layered panes of crystalline glass, each sliding gracefully apart to reveal glowing channels of light beneath. A wave of energy surges outward. It races through the city, through the docking platforms, through the air itself, as though the entire megastructure is stretching awake after 1,000 lifetimes of sleep. From the monolith at their center comes a pulse, sharp, resonant, alive. At that instant, every member of the Odyssey crew, even those still aboard the ship in orbit, gasps in unison. Minds brush minds. Thoughts spill open like doors blown from their hinges. For the first time in human history, every person linked together. Not with words. With consciousness. Elara reels as foreign emotions crash through her, fear, wonder, fractured memories, none of them hers. She feels Jaren's paranoia spike like a blade. She feels Tova's swirling disorientation. She feels Kale's expanding awareness like a rising tide overflowing the boundaries of his body. Elara. Tova chokes out. I can hear you. No, Elara whispers, horror dawning. You're inside my head. Their thoughts overlap, stack, merge. Sensations flood like a storm with no origin. The monolith's pulse intensifies, steady, deliberate, each wave knitting their minds tighter. Jaren snaps. Get out of my head, he shouts, stumbling backward, clutching his skull. This is a trick. They're messing with us, they're trying to take us. Before anyone can stop him, he fires at a shifting projection emerging from the wall, a luminous Aenoran form rising like a curtain of light. The shot passes through harmlessly, but Tova, who had stepped forward, is nearly hit. The beam grazes her arm, searing a glowing streak through her suit. Tova! Elara shouts. Jaren stumbles back in horror. I didn't mean. It wasn't you, it wasn't. But the city reacts instantly. The projection solidifies into a towering, flowing figure of light. Not attacking. Not threatening. Simply, watching. Kale drops to his knees, but not in pain, in revelation. His face relaxes. His breathing evens. His eyes shine like reflected starlight. They're awake, he whispers. I can hear them clearly. The others turn toward him. Something about him feels different, calmer, heavier, more connected than before. The neural hum of the city pulses in sync with his heartbeat. Kale, Elara says carefully, step away from the monolith. He doesn't. They're not attacking us. They have never attacked us. They're bridging us, linking us, so we can understand. His voice grows steadier, resonant, almost doubled, as if layered with another tone. The Aenorans don't want to dominate humanity. They want to invite us. Invite us to what? Jaren snarls. Kale turns toward him, expression gentle. To join their collective. Not as slaves, but as partners. As co-minds across the stars. The idea hits Elara like a strike to the chest. A collective consciousness. Shared understanding. A civilization built not on words, but on unified thought. No lies. No misunderstandings. No isolation. Yet the cost would be everything they know about individuality. Elara, Kale continues softly, this city wasn't guarding itself from us. It was protecting us from entering an awakened mind unprepared. But now it recognizes us. The monolith glows brighter, its light folding around him like a cocoon. He's merging with it, Tova breathes. Kale, stop. But Kale smiles, eyes unfocused. I'm not merging. I'm communicating. The way they do. Then it can sense its slumbering inhabitants trapped in deep hibernation, unreachable without the final cognitive spark. Their presence, the human's presence, is the catalyst. The city's consciousness is leaning on them, drawing strength from their minds. And if they leave? Elara, Tova whispers, voice trembling, I think if we pull away, the city might collapse. Elara's heart thunders. You mean? This awakening, this entire mental resurgence, depends on the link we created when we landed. If we break it now, the Aenorans might never wake. A horrible weight settles over the chamber. Kale stands, light streaming around him in radiant arcs. You understand now. They didn't call for visitors. They called for witnesses. Minds strong enough to help them rise again. Jaren backs away, shaking his head. No. No, I didn't sign up to resurrect an entire alien species. We're humans. Explorers. Not, whatever this is. The city responds with a soft tremor, gentle, almost pleading. Elara looks at the monolith, its light flickering like a heart on the edge of failure. If they leave, the city dies. If they stay, humanity may be forever changed. The choice is no longer between escape and exploration. It is between preserving an ancient, sleeping civilization, or saving themselves from becoming part of something they cannot fully understand. The city waits. Awake. Watching. Depending on them. And Elara realizes the truth with cold clarity. We're not visitors anymore, she whispers. We're the key. Elara steps forward, staring at the pulsing monolith. Two futures hang before them like twin stars, one bright, one dark, both irreversible. We leave now, she murmurs, and the Aenorans may never awaken. Their knowledge, their civilization, everything they preserve dies with this city. Tova meets her gaze, firm and frightened at once. But if we join them fully, we lose ourselves. Humanity isn't ready for this. Not mentally. Jaren nods, clutching his still shaking hands. We barely survived their dreams. What happens when we face their reality? Kale steps between them, eyes bright with alien reflection. You're thinking inside human walls, he says gently. But this isn't about bodies or borders. The Aenorans are offering partnership, union of thought. With what they know, we could prevent extinctions, cure collapses, uplift species still crawling in the dark. His voice grows more resonant, as if layered with an echo not fully his own. This knowledge could save entire civilizations. Tova shakes her head. Or destroy them. No one mind should carry that much power. Emotions clash like opposing gravitational pulls. Fear. Hope. Curiosity. Loss. The city senses it. The walls shift, shimmering like a curtain of consciousness, and visions ignite around them, projected directly into their minds. Future after future unfolds. A utopian timeline where humans and Aenorans share ideas freely, solving cosmic threats together. A fractured one where humanity collapses under psychological overload. A golden age of exploration, where the two species weave knowledge across galaxies. A catastrophic one where individuality dissolves and the collective mind becomes a uniform echo. Each possibility feels real. Each hits the crew with emotional weight instead of words. Jaren falls to his knees, overwhelmed. Tova clutches her head as conflicting realities battle within her. Kale stands tall, breathing steadily, welcoming the flood. Elara, Tova gasps. Don't let them choose for us. Elara's mind races. Her heartbeat hammers like a signal across an alien network. She sees humanity, fragile, stubborn, curious, standing at a precipice no species has ever reached willingly. There must be a path between surrender and abandonment. She turns to Kale. To join them completely means losing ourselves. To leave them means losing them. Kale's expression softens. So what's left? Elara steps toward the monolith, placing her palm against its cool, luminous surface. We help them awaken, she says, her voice steady as the city vibrates in recognition. But not fully. Not yet. Kale blinks, confused. Partial awakening. Yes. Enough for them to communicate. Enough for us to learn. But not enough to merge our minds into theirs. We keep our autonomy, and help them regain theirs. Tova exhales, relief flickering through her fear. Jaren slumps with exhaustion, nodding weakly. Kale hesitates. You're asking them to hold back their instincts. To rise slowly. That goes against everything their species is. Elara lifts her chin. Then they must evolve too. The monolith responds with a low, resonant chime that ripples through their bones. The city listens. It considers. The chamber dims. Darkness sweeps through the walls like a shutter closing. Then. A surge of light envelopes them in a single, unified dream. They stand in a vast space where sky and ground blur, an arena of thought. Across from them, shapes of radiant Aenorans shimmer into form. Not with bodies. With intention. The negotiation begins. The Aenorans show visions of what they desire. A rebirth. A shared consciousness. Memory restored. Purpose rekindled. In response, Elara sends waves of feeling, not words. Humanity's fear of losing identity. Its need for boundaries. Its hope for connection without assimilation. Tova adds her own projections, handmade machines, fragile human art, individual creativity that cannot exist inside a collective mind. Kale sends balance, unity, empathy, the beauty of merging perspectives without erasing them. The Aenorans listen. They respond with ripples of approval, concern, sorrow, understanding. This negotiation is not speech. The connection will remain open. Humans and Aenorans will meet halfway. Not one mind. Not many minds lost. But a bridge. A beginning. Elara breathes out. They agree. Kale nods slowly, awe filling his face. Then this is first contact. The city glows brighter, not overwhelming this time, gentle, rising, alive. The Aenorans are waking. Not fully. But enough. Enough to speak. Enough to remember. Enough to meet humanity halfway across the vast divide of the cosmos. The choice is made. The consequences are only beginning. The chamber dims to a soft, twilight glow. The city's consciousness settles, not fully awake, not fully dreaming, balanced in a fragile state between worlds. The monolith pulses gently now, its immense presence no longer overwhelming but harmonious, as though adjusting itself to match the rhythm of human thought. A bridge has been built. Not of stone. Not of metal. But of dreams. Elara draws a slow breath, letting the calm wash through her mind as the Aenorans pull back, forming a respectful distance, still present, still aware, but no longer pressing against their deepest thoughts. The connection has become a whisper instead of a wave. It worked, Tova murmurs, her voice filled with wonder. We can feel them, but we're still ourselves. Kale places a hand against the monolith one last time. Images flicker through him, vast star networks, ancient knowledge, living mathematics, civilizations rising and falling across ages older than human imagination. The contact breaks gently, like a tide receding. They trust us, he says quietly. They want to speak again, when we're ready. Jaren rubs the back of his neck, still shaken but calmer than before. I never thought I'd say this, but they weren't trying to trap us. They were asking for help. Elara nods. And we gave it. On our terms. The path back through the shifting corridor, the walls no longer ripple in fear or curiosity, they glow softly, guiding them, like hosts escorting honored guests. The translucent pathways hum with subdued energy, stabilizing into recognizable shapes, no longer threatening to reshape beneath their feet. When the crew reaches the docking platform, the city gives a final, gentle pulse through their minds. A farewell. A promise. A beginning. The ramp closes behind them. The Odyssey's interior feels small compared to the vast dreaming consciousness they just left, but reassuringly human, warm lights, humming consoles, the familiar scent of recycled air. Yet each crew member steps aboard forever changed. Tova sits at her workstation immediately, sketching diagrams of impossible physics she glimpsed in the Aenoran dreams. Shapes that bend spacetime like cloth. Engines that travel thought first, matter second. This could rewrite everything, she whispers. Jaren stows his gear in silence, steady now, breathing evenly. The fear that once gripped him has shifted into respect, for the unknown, for possibility, for what lies beyond simple understanding. Kale closes his eyes,